Deloitte's The Inside Track is developed to prep you and your organization for the ever-changing future. It provides insights into the agility you'll need to do sustainable business. This podcast series dives into the 6 agility domains necessary for Belgian companies to stand up to future crises. Please welcome our Inside Track host, Gudela Wijnands, Director of Deloitte Belgium.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of the Inside Track by Deloitte. At Deloitte we really believe that in order to become a sustainable company, you need to be an agile company. And then the first question, of course, is what does that mean, an agile company? How can you become an agile company? To understand this, we surveyed the Belgian companies on 6 different domains, which we thought were important to become an agile company. And all these results are bundled in an ebook, which you can download, by the way, called the Belgian Readiness Report. One of these domains is about customer data and tools. And that is why today's Inside Track by Deloitte is all about ERP. And we will show you how an ERP in the cloud can help you, support you to become an agile company, to respond quickly to new challenges in the market and do quickly business transformation processes. So let me introduce you today to my colleague Arnaud de Brul. Arnaud de Brul is a director here within Deloitte Consulting, and he has a lot of experience implementing ERP in the cloud. Hi Arnaud, welcome here. Can you quickly introduce yourself and perhaps why we invited you here today?
Thank you for having me, Hul. My name is Arnaud de Brul and I'm a director at Deloitte with 15 years experience in ERP selection and transformation. I'm currently leading our SAP S/4HANA Cloud offering in Belgium. And this is why I'm here, because today we are going to discuss agility, cloud and ERP.
Okay, thanks. Well, let's get started then. It all started with the Belgian Readiness Report we did beginning of the year. And that was a survey about the agility of our Belgian companies and the trends they saw. But can you explain what that has to do with cloud ERP, that Readiness Report?
Yeah, but let's maybe first take a step back and look at what the cloud brings to a company today. So cloud is really an enabler to bring innovation to companies, and thanks to the cloud you can really get rid of barriers that companies were facing in the past when they wanted to innovate. If you think about the cost in money, energy, time it will have taken to, for example, make one of your business process better thanks to machine learning and artificial intelligence. Well, today it's not true anymore, because if you think about the cloud, you don't need to anticipate and think, okay, do I need a new infrastructure, new hardware before even starting your project? You can really consume out of the shelf. And this is what you do. And so you select your services, you subscribe to them. It's very nice, it's pay per use, so if you don't like it, you can always stop it. You combine them, you test. You don't like it, you go to the next one. I mean, it's really flexible and agile in that way. So cloud is really bringing to companies, on the one hand, the agility with all those innovative services out of the shelf, and scalability, because you can really start small with a small proof of concept. And when you need, you scale it up and you go to the next step.
I see, Arnaud, thank you, what the cloud is bringing as advantages to our Belgian companies. But what does this all to do with the Readiness Report then?
Well, when we look at the Readiness Report, we see that more than 80% of the respondents are already running their ERP in the cloud or are in the process of doing so.
80%?
Yes, 80%. And when you look at cloud and ERP, you have a lot of solutions, a little bit depending on what are the customer requirements, depending on the ERP vendors. So you have a lot of different things that you can get. But you have 4 common benefits, I would say. You have the scalability, the agility, the fact that you can keep your total cost of ownership under control, and then you also get continuous innovation. I will quickly go through a few examples, but if you think about scalability, in the past, if you are running an ERP on premise and you wanted to do a big change, what you wanted to do was to take a copy of your production system, make it a sandbox, and play with it. But of course, to do that, you needed space.
Yeah.
And sometimes we had companies, they were out of space. And so, you had to find already a solution even before starting your testing. Yeah. This with the cloud is not true anymore. I mean, you take your system, you subscribe to a service to have enough space to take a copy of that system, and you make it run. And you can even say, well, I just want to pay for business hours during 1 month. And we'll just pay for that, and then that system will disappear.
Okay.
So that's really nice from
really pay as you use.
Yeah, pay as you use, indeed. And SAP is, for example, following the same trend, if you think about it, with the ERP in the cloud. And that's solving a little bit to scalability. So you pay per user in the end.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice because if you start small, let's say you are a growing company, you take licenses for 50 users, you have a very nice system working very well. And if in 5 years you are at 500 users, well, you don't need to take care about the underpinning infrastructure because SAP is taking care of that. When you pay for more users, they just make sure that your system is running in an optimal way.
Yeah. Interesting.
So if you think about agility, well, you can implement very fast. So that's a way to be agile with cloud ERPs. But you also get real insight into your data, which is very important when the market is changing very fast like today. Total cost of ownership, that's also linked to that license model if you think about it, because you know what you are going to pay today for each user, so you can easily estimate what you are going to pay in a few years.
Yeah,
you
for the additional ones.
Yeah, you don't need to start think about, am I investing into the right sizing of my infrastructure for the years to come? Is it oversized, undersized? You don't need to take care of that anymore. And then you have continuous innovation, of course. If you look at public cloud ERPs like SAP S/4HANA Cloud, almost every month you get innovation at your fingertips. And you have those 2 upgrades per year, pushing you all the new functionalities and also the regulatory changes, which are very important for our customers working in different countries.
Okay, so that's also included.
Yeah.
I do see how cloud adds agility and flexibility to a company, but before you can even start using that ERP system, it must take 1 year at least before you can start using it.
Okay, good question. But those are a little bit old beliefs with those public cloud ERP solutions. If you look at what we did recently, for example, it was for a Belgian media company. We did an implementation of the ERP in 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah, 3
really?
months, yeah. That was with SAP S/4HANA Cloud.
Okay.
And it's due to different reasons. On the one hand, you really have a lot of accelerators coming with that system. We'll mention one, which is, for example, the starter system. So when you sign a contract with SAP, a few days later, you receive a pre-configured starter system, including master data, transactional data, and so on. So it means that, in fact, 2-3 weeks after a contract signature, you can start your fit to standard workshop in show and tell sessions with the customer. So that's really nice.
And best practices, or?
Yeah, so the accelerators, it's one piece. The best practice coming with the system is another piece. And what I would add there on top, it's also a very strong cloud project methodology that you need on top of this. Next to those accelerators, you also need a strong cloud project methodology with change management. Change management is really important. If you go to a cloud ERP, you don't want to change the cloud ERP. You want to change the process to fit to the best practices. Well, on top of that, what we try to do also at Deloitte is to have kind of the out-of-the-box interfaces and robots with robotic process automation that we can just plug and play.
And can accelerate the
Voilà, exactly. And then this
process.
is really to accelerate the pace of the implementation.
Okay. Interesting. But to be honest, this sounds a little bit costly to me. Or very costly. If all that is included, what you were just discussing, do companies have money to spend on this kind of cloud ERP solution? Seeing all those inflation, wars, and so on.
Okay, good question. Well, you have to know that if you go for a cloud ERP like SAP S/4HANA Cloud, you will get cutting-edge technologies working anywhere on any device for the price of a newspaper per day per user. This is what it's going to cost. And for this price, you get the full package. You get all the functional modules that you can think about. You get the country localizations in more than 40 countries. You get the upgrades and so on.
And the infrastructure, of course.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but that's about license cost. But there is also an implementation cost. What about that?
I knew that question was coming. So on the implementation cost, if you think about the accelerators that I mentioned a few minutes ago, and the project methodology, what we managed to do is to reduce the cost of the implementation to, we decrease them by 30 to 50% of,
in comparison
with a traditional
with
ERP.
the traditional on-premise ERP. Really? So 30 to 50% less?
Yeah, indeed.
Interesting. So, Arno, working in the cloud, that means that all those data are just freely available out there? I mean, how can we ensure the security of those data?
Well, we can ensure the security of those data. But let me introduce you to one of our cyber experts, Nicolas Noël, who is going to explain you how does this work.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. First, you have to understand that all those cloud providers and cloud vendors are investing millions of euros every year to make sure that all the data that they receive from their customers are secure. And secure both on a logical way to protect them from hackers, but also on a physical way to protect them from flood or from power failures. But next to that, you still need to do something to make sure that those data are secure. You need to secure the access by implementing multi-factor authentication or single sign-on to make sure that only the authorized user can access your data.
Yeah, indeed. And this is all why it's important to make sure that if you go for a cloud ERP, you get one with a service that's allowing you to connect to your single sign-on service from your company.
Thanks, Nicolas.
Thank you for having me.
Arno, I think what would be interesting for our listeners to know is what are now typically used cases where a company can really benefit from the agility of a cloud ERP solution?
Well, you have different use cases. I would say that the most common one that we see with a lot of small, mid-sized companies is typical operational ERP implementation, but where they will benefit really from all those pre-configured best practices to quickly get their ERP live, meaning that then they can really focus on other things like innovation after the ERP implementation. Another use case that we have seen is, for example, in case of divestiture or acquisition of a company, where it's also a use case where you need to quickly get a new ERP running as fast as possible. So that's a use case we have seen. And then you have a specific one, which is called the two-tier ERP landscape, which is more for mid-sized to large enterprises. And this is a setup where you have a company already running an ERP on-premise or on their private cloud. And then they really need more agility, flexibility in smaller entities. So there you have different examples. But one of the examples we implemented is a company with sales offices in a few countries. And they just need a few functionalities available in those sales offices. And if they will roll out their full global ERP template, it will take them 6 to 12 months per country. They don't want that. So they go for a public cloud ERP solution to roll it out very fast. And then what we do is that we connect those two solutions together. So if we take the example of S/4HANA, you have standard connectors so that you can replicate master data in both systems. Sales order can create a purchase order, vice versa. The stock is synchronized. And that's a use case that we see more and more with large companies. And you can have other examples where you are doing only assembly to orders, for example, in some countries. And this is what you are going to run in your public cloud solution because it's enough and you can deploy it fast. And it will connect to the big manufacturing sites that you have running, for example, in the core ERP solution.
Okay. So
that's kind of agility that you can bring.
Yeah, so that you can start up quickly with a new system. So may I conclude then that cloud ERP is for every kind of customer, every kind of company?
Good question. I'm quite convinced that there is an ERP on the cloud answering the needs of most of the customer.
Okay.
But does it mean that all the customers are going to go full SaaS? No, I don't think. Does it mean they will all go for a public cloud ERP? Most probably not. Because every customer is very specific. Yeah? And what's really important before moving to public cloud ERP is to have a discovery phase and business case to make sure that this solution is going to fit your needs, because that's the only way you can get the most out of those public cloud solutions.
So you first assess that?
Yeah, first an assessment.
Okay.
Now, there is a clear trend. If we look at the market, we see more and more companies who are willing to go for a public cloud ERP.
Okay.
The main reasons being that they see a couple of benefits, of course. The agility, the scalability, the fact that they can get the total cost of ownership more under control than with a classical implementation. They don't need to take care about the infrastructure and the upgrades anymore, so they can really focus, in fact, on their business transformation.
Yeah.
And what you see is that they really like to focus on a fast core ERP implementation on their public cloud, so what we call the system of records, so that they can then focus more on the differentiation and innovation to continue to cope with an ever-changing world. This is what we see as a trend.
So, I see now why a cloud ERP adds agility and flexibility to our companies to be able to be more ready for future challenges or trends. But to me, it also seems that a cloud ERP indeed can be for a big corporate, having smaller subsidiaries, but also for a very small startup company going to a scale up. Thanks a lot, Arnaud, for the clarification of today's subject of our Inside Track at Deloitte episodes. And to all of you, I would like to thank you for watching and listening our today's episode of Inside Track. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.
You're now one step further on the inside track to agility. Want to know more about the 6 domains that will strengthen your organisation? The Belgian Readiness Report is freely available. Be sure to tune in to the next episode of the Inside Track to keep broadening your way forward.